Lal ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiyarayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaparayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yuttama-shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Ajnanatamarandasya Kalanjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. My spiritual master, open wise with the torchlight of knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Srila Prabhupada ki. We'd like to introduce His Grace Mangalananda Prabhu, who's from Halifax and now residing, well, sort of in a limbo sort of thing, visiting us for a month, and he'll give some classes while he's here. He is the brother-in-law, would that be right to say? Brother-in-law of Dwarkanath, topmost cook in North America. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. And thank you very much. You're most welcome. Okay? And let us go. What are we doing today? Verses?
We're reading from Canto 7, Chapter 11, 1 to 12. And then we are focusing on 8, verse 8.
Okay, great. So we'll read this together then. The perfect society for social classes. All right? Everyone together? 1, 2, 3. Shukadev Goswami continued. After hearing about the activities and character of Prahlad Maharaj, which are adored and discussed among great personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Yudhishthira Maharaj, the most respectful king among exalted personalities, again inquired from the great saint Narada Muni in a mood of great pleasure. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, "My dear Lord, I wish to hear from you about the principles of religion by which one can attain the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. I wish to hear about the general occupational duties of human society and the system of social and spiritual advancement known as Varnashram Dharma. O best of the Brahmins, you are directly the son of Prajapati, Lord Brahma. Because of your austerities, mystic yoga, and trance, you are considered the best of all of Lord Brahma's sons. No one is superior to you in peaceful life and mercy, and no one knows better than you how to execute devotional service or how to become the best of the Brahmanas. Therefore, you know all the principles of confidential religious life, and no one knows them better than you." Sri Narada Muni said, after first offering obeisance unto Lord Krishna, the protector of the religious principles of all living entities, "Let me explain the principles of the eternal religious system, of which I have heard from the mouth of Narayan." Lord Narayan, along with his partial manifestation Nara, appeared in this world through the daughter of Daksha Maharaj, known as Murti. He was begotten by Dharma Maharaj for the benefit of all living entities. Even now, he is still engaged in executing great austerities near the place known as Badarikashram. The Supreme Being, the personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhishthira, This principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of the religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. And verse 8 to 9, there are, 8 to 12, sorry. Okay? These are the general, is that right? We're supposed to read this?
Yeah, we are actually reciting this verse. So.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. Well, that's a lot to go through. Haribol. All right, so then I guess we'll just concentrate on this for our recitation. And Satyam Dayatapa Shauchang Tisikshiksha Shamodamaha Ahimsa Brahmacharyang Cha Tyaga Swadhyaya Arjavam Santosha Samadrik Seva Gramye Ho Parama Shanahai Nrinam Viparya Ye He Ksha Maunam Atma Vimarshanam Anadya De Sangvibhago Bhutebhyascha Yatharhataha Tesh Atma Devata Buddhi Sutaram Nrishu Pandava Shravanam Kirtanam Chasya Smaranam Mahatangate Sevejya Manatayar Dasyam Sakyamatma Samarpanam Nrinamanyang Paro Dharma Sarveshang Samudarita Tringsha Lakshana Rajana Sarvatmayena Tushati. So everyone can take a line and we'll start with you.
A line?
Yeah, one line.
So the word for word?
No, just the recitation.
Sorry.
The Sanskrit or the English?
Sanskrit.
Okay. Satyam Dayatapa Shaucham
Satyam Shaucham Titikshiksha Shamodama Ahimsa Charyam Cha Jagaswadhyaya Arjavam Santosha Samadrik Seva Gramye Ho Parama Shanai. Nrinam Vipare Sha Monam Atma Vimarshanam Ananyate Samvibho Duveja Chaya Hataha Tesva Atma Deva Buddhi Sutaram Rishu Pandava
Shravanam Kirtanam Chasya
Shravanam Kirtanam Chasya Seveja Vanatayar Dasyam Sakya Atma Samarpanam Nrinam Ayam Dharma Sarvesham Samuddharitaha Vingsha Lakshana Vanrajan
Sarvatma Gina Tushyati
Vatma Yena Tushyati. Hare Krishna. Okay, should we go through these words? Is that the end? All right, everyone together. Satyam, speaking the truth without distortion or deviation. Daya, sympathy to everyone's suffering. Tapaha, austerities, such as observing fasts at least twice in a month on the day of Ekadashi. Shaucham, cleanliness, bathing regularly at least twice a day, morning and evening, and remembering to chant the holy name of God. Tiksha, toleration, being unagitated by seasonal changes when convenient to circumstances. Iksha, distinguishing between good and bad. Shamaha, control of the mind, not allowing the mind to act whimsically. Tamaha, control of the senses, not allowing the senses to act without control. Ahimsa, non-violence, not subjecting any living entity to threefold miseries. Brahmacharyam, continuance or abstaining from misuse of one's semen, not indulging in sex with women other than one's own wife, and not having sex with one's wife when sex is forbidden, like during the period of menstruation. Cha, and tyagaha, giving in charity at least 50% of one's income. Swadhyayaha, reading of some literatures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, and the Mahabharata. Or for those not in Vedic culture, reading the Bible or the Quran. Arjavam, simplicity, freedom from mental duplicity. Santoshaha, being satisfied with that which is available without severe endeavor. Samadrik seva, rendering service to saintly persons who make no distinctions between one living being and another, and who see every living being as a spiritual. Pandita samadarshinaha, gramya iha vipam, not taking part in so-called philanthropic activities. Shanahi, gradually. Nrinam, in human society. Viparya iha, the unnecessary activities. Iksha, discussing. Maunam, being grave and silent. Atma, into the self. Vimarshanam, as to whether one is the body or the soul. Anadya adehi, of food and drink, etc. Samvibhagaha, equal distribution. Bhutebhyaha, to different living entities. Cha, also. Yata arhataha, as befitting. Teshu, all living entities. Atmadevata buddhi, accepting as the self or the demigods. Sutaram, preliminarily. Nrishu, among all human beings. Pandava, Maharaj Yudhishthira. Shravanam, hearing. Kirtanam, chanting. Cha, also. Asya, of him, the Lord. Smaranam, remembering his words and activities. Mahatam, of great saintly persons. Gattahe, who is the shelter. Seva, service. Ija, worship. Avadhi, offering obeisances. Dasyam, accepting the service. Sakyam, to consider as a friend. Atma samarpanam, surrendering one's whole self. Nrinam, of all human beings. Ayam, this. Paraha, supermost. Dharmaha, religious principle. Sarvesham, of all. Samuadhar, described fully. Trinshat Lakshanavan, possessing 30 characteristics. Rajan, O king. Sarva Atma, the supreme Lord, the super soul of all. Yena, by which Tushati is satisfied. Woo! Okay. So let's go through let's read this through. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Truthfulness, mercy, austerity, observing fasts on certain days of the month, bathing twice a day, tolerance to discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind, control of the senses, nonviolence, celibacy, charity, reading of scripture, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave on unnecessary engagements. the activities of human society, remaining silent and grave, and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether it's the body or the soul, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals, seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as a part of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhishthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. In order that human beings be extinct from the animals, the great saint Narada recommends that every human being be educated in terms of the above-mentioned 30 qualifications. Nowadays, there is propaganda everywhere, all over the world, for a secular state, a state interested only in mundane activities. But if the citizens of the state are not educated in the above-mentioned good qualities, how can there be happiness? For example, if the total populace is untruthful, how can the state be happy? Right. Therefore, without consideration of one's belonging to a secular religion, whether Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect, everyone should be taught to become truthful. Similarly, everyone should be taught to be merciful. And everyone should observe fasting, okay, when you really slow down, actually, on certain days of the month. Everyone should twice a day cleanse his and body externally and cleanse his mind internally by remembering the holy name of the Lord. The Lord is one, whether one is Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. Therefore, one should chant the holy name of the Lord, regardless of differences in linguistic pronunciation. Also, everyone should be taught to be very careful not to discharge semen unnecessarily. This is very important for all human beings. If semen is not discharged unnecessarily, one becomes extremely strong in memory, in determination, activity, and the vitality of one's bodily energy. Everyone should also be taught to be simple in thought and feeling. Guys. All right. And satisfied in body and mind. These are the general qualifications of a human being. There's no question of a secular state or an ecclesiastical state. Unless one is educated in the above-mentioned 30 qualities, there cannot be any
duality.
Peace. Now you got ultimately is recommended. Oh my God, there's still more. Shravanam kirtanam chasya smaranam mahatangatahe sevaj ja vanatir dasyan sakyamatma samarpanam. Everyone should become a devotee of the Lord, because by becoming a devotee of the Lord, one automatically acquires the other qualities. Shasti bhaktir bhagavati kinchana sarvair gunaistatra samasute sara harav abhaktasya kato mahadguna monoratina sati davato bihi. If one has unflinching devotional service to Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. However, He who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualifications because he is engaged in mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. Bhagavatam 5:18-12. Our consciousness movement there is all embracing. Human civilization should take it very seriously and practice its principles for the peace of the world. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. You Prabhus are wonderful. Hare Krishna. Okay, so the chapter is entitled The Perfect Society for Social Classes. So in Sanskrit, that's called Varna and Ashram. Now, in the 76, when Prabhupada was here in June, a member from the Toronto Star came. Her name was Kathy Carr. I still remember it. Carr, K-E-R-R, like Deborah Carr, the actress. Anyways, I'm old. You wouldn't know. And she was asking Prabhupada a lot of good questions. And one of the questions was about the caste system. And Prabhupada more or less denied that the caste system is part of Vedic culture, but it has become an integral part of the culture of India, and it has been distorted. It has been, let's say, the original version of that is the Varna and Ashram system. And it got abused, like many things in this world. They get abused, they get distorted. And so everyone has to suffer as a result of it. I still remember every time I fly to America or from America, you have to take off your shoes, okay? Why do you have to take off your shoes? Because some, can I say, idiot had explosives in his shoe. And for one person doing that, and that was like about 10 years ago, now everyone has to take off their shoes in America, not in Canada. But, it's a little bit of a hassle. It's just a little extra thing that has to be done. The point is that things get spoiled. The broth gets spoiled when there's too many cooks. You've heard that phrase? The preparation gets spoiled when there's lack of attentiveness and, let's say, lack of paying to the details of one's predecessor, the cook, the chef, whatever. So you have to pay attention, and otherwise things go sour. And sour is, what does it do? Your face disfigures, when you go sour. And so this is the result of a contaminated aspect of Varna and Ashram. Prabhupada mentions Varna and Ashram probably as many times as he mentions Krishna in the books. It's, you know why? Because he was quite crazy about it. He really felt that this was the best way to organize human society, that you identify with the community. That's an advantage. You are with a group of people that you understand. You understand the language. They have certain codes that they follow, certain codes and modes that they follow. And so it comes a little easy to understand the different groups. Now, it's interesting because last night on the Zoom call on the Gita studies, we talked extensively about the Varnashram program because our verse was related to that. And it's just very interesting. I think people really, they get it in its pure form. But if we keep in mind that the Varna and Ashram system is created by God, that's the other thing. Please, from chapter 4, Krishna rolled it out. It's not man-made. When I think of man-made things, I think my mind goes to Regina, because in Regina they had this beautiful lake that I think was during the Depression time. They gave employment to the men, and so they dug this nice lake. And if the lake wasn't there, it would just kind of be like a desert, a little bit on the bland side, you know. But usually when we think of man-made, it's second class, right? So when a system is made, man-made, you have to question it. It's full of flaws. But when God comes out and he says, I have created this chaturvarnyamaya system, guna karma vibhagashaha tasya karataram apimam vidyar karataram aviyam, that Krishna has created this system, God's done it, so we will give it some validity, won't we? We'll give it some merit. We should, right? But it's, as usual, we humans, we mess things up. We're very good at screwing up. You know, we are experts in this field. Whatever is nice, we mess it up. You know? And so that's the thing with the Varna and Ashram system. And we have little hints of it in the Bhagavatam. I think we talked about it, or in the Mahabharata is what I would like to reference, actually. We did it the other day, and we were just talking about how Arjuna and the referee of the tournament, where as Arjuna was releasing an arrow to hit the eye of a fish that was suspended in the air, and he did it very well. And then somebody came in, a stranger, Arjuna's unknown elder brother, Karna, and he did it without looking. He looked at a reflection. Let's say he did a very expert job. And yet, he was disqualified by Arjuna because he was not able to express his background familially. He was questioned, cornered. We're talking about Karna. Who's your mother? Who's your father? Where do you come from? La, 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 la. So it came out that he was the son of Atirat, who was a chariot driver, and that his mother was by the name of Radha, like humble people. So Arjuna stepped in and said, you're disqualified. So that kind of, let's say, element of, let's say, what you might say is mundane does come through. And devotees sometimes do talk about implementing the Varna and Ashram system. Srila Prabhupada's desire was to go to, his last trip to the west from Vrindavan was to, or he intended to go to Gita Nagari in Pennsylvania. And why? Because he thought it was a very suitable place to establish Varna and Ashram and the simple living, high thinking motto and that particular theme. But, you know, he got, his health worsened, and he only went so far as the UK and then had to go back. So devotees always look at this. There's some quotes there. Prabhupada said, I've done 50% of my work, 50% of my business. Maybe we should analyze that for a minute. What do you think is 50% that was done that he did for us or for humanity? Can anybody come up with some hands? Yes.
Establishing temples.
Establishing temples, right. Mm-hmm.
Give books.
Yes, book distribution, dissemination of the philosophy. Yes, that's right. What else?
Creating multi-guru environment.
So which?
Creating multi-guru environment.
Guru?
Like multiple gurus.
Like
Oh, multiple
initiating
gurus.
and empowering.
Oh, yes, empowering people. Yes, sure. Okay, and anything else?
Being
Could I give you a hint?
Yes, I was about to say teaching cooking to my
Yeah, cooking. And of course, like we did mention about temple life, but just to get into a little more detail about puja, you know, how to worship the deities. Did you know, this is something you may not know, this is going to shock you. Hold on to your seats. Prabhupada was showing, hold on to your seat, the devotees how to worship Radha Krishna. First, it was in 1968. 68, in Montreal. It was the first time he showed devotees how to worship Radha Krishna. Some devotee from New York had acquired brass deities of Radha Krishna. They came to Montreal, And the Prabhupada showed us how to do it, in what order to do things, what are the various articles that you use in puja, because before that it wasn't known. Now, here's the interesting story. There's more to it. Some lady took those deities, maybe she was a little bit off. She took those deities and brought them off down the 401 to land at 187 Gerrard Street, and which are here now. So the first form of Radha Krishna worship happened with our little chota, Radha Krishna. Isn't that amazing? So Brahmananda was, before he passed away, I think most of you know him, he was telling this particular story, and Lakshma Muni, our god sister, was one of the first devotees here in Toronto. She approached him after the class. So tell me again the story, get the details down. And she wanted to know more. She was probing him. And so finally it came out, the truth came out that those deities that were in Montreal, purchased by a New York devotee, ended up here, and they are here to this day.
Montreal Temple never asked for that.
I don't know those details. I don't know if we have anybody around that can answer those questions. But that's pretty amazing. Okay, so Seva Puja was established by Srila Prabhupada, right? And just in general, hygienic manners, take a bath every day, in the morning, of course. And he's suggesting, especially if you're doing deity worship, there should be twice or even thrice taking a shower. Does anybody have problems with taking showers here? Does anybody have any problems with it? To me, it's ecstatic. I love taking a shower. It's kind of coming in contact with water. Our bodies are mostly made of water. So when we come in contact with water, we're happy. And we're especially happy when we go to Cherry Beach in the water. Okay. Yeah, so, the list goes on, what Prabhupada taught us, but the one thing in regards to the theme of this chapter is the 4 social orders, something that he did not get to. There are 2 parts to the Varna and Ashram system, and the Varna refers to vocation, and then the Ashram refers to ashram life, whether brahmachari, brahmacharini, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. We talked about that extensively to our group last night. They were very intrigued with how the system works and how your passions are in alignment with these 4 groupings. Okay, so that's one part or department of the Varnashram system, and the other one is, what is your vocation? What are you good at? What do you have a knack at? Haridas Thakur, everybody has heard about him. He's the Namacharya. He was, as a priestly person, he was extremely good at orating, delivering a class. He was also very good at chanting, doing devotional things. And it was noted by Sanatana Goswami, I believe it was. He said that, my observation is that some people are good at giving a class, but their practices, principles are not up to the standards somewhere. It's hard to find a person who's got it all, and it seemed that Haridas Thakur, had it all down, pat, So the Varnashram system is something that really does work. It can work as long as you keep one thing in mind. And what is that? I'll just ask any of you. Yeah, thank you very much. Samsiddhir Hari Toshanam. Toshanam means to please. Who? Hari. Hari means Vishnu, Hari means Krishna. And literally, Hari means, does anybody know what that means? Put up your hand if you know. What does Hari mean? Yes?
Hari means who kills the sins.
Kills the sins. Yes, that's one interpretation.
Thief.
Yeah, thief, yeah. Or one who steals. One who steals the bad stuff. You know, anything negative in you, in your character, Lord Hari or Krishna he'll crush it. He'll smash it. He'll do away with it. He'll dismiss it. So I was talking to some devotees at Sharanagati about this. And you know, when devotees talk about implementing Varna and Ashram, people get scared. You know why? Because some people are obviously like Shudra in quality. They like to work with their bodies. And they like to move things. They like to, do exercise and, handyman stuff. And how many people appreciate handymen when they come around in the temple? They're like God. They're like an avatar that's come. Thank you very much. This has been looking so bad atrocious for months and years, and you've come here, and so they're almost like God. So, I travel a little bit, and I see it becomes very obvious to me who are the Shudras, who are the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and so on, and Brahmanas. It becomes obvious just by looking at people's mannerisms or how they talk, And I've just come to this conclusion that everybody's good, regardless of your background, especially if you have interest in Sansiddhir Haritoshanam. Your work is to please God. If there's like some of the guys who clean here, they're so nice. They're not snooty. They just say Hare Krishna, and they go about their business, and they do it with passion, with a love for it, isn't it? Yeah. That's our experience. So your heart melts when you meet these kind of people, And it's not a question of higher or lower. One thing that we came up with as a theme for our group that we were on the phone with last night, it's a matter of complementing. It's not a matter of competing, right? And so people picked up on that. When it comes to a man and woman getting married, they're different from each other. One is from Mars, another one's from Venus. Have you heard that before? Mars and Venus. They're quite different from each other, wired differently, think differently, do differently, but they complement each other and they attract each other as well. So when there's kids, they say, okay, what I can't get from daddy, I'll get from mommy. What I can't get from mommy, and mom and dad are like good cop, bad cop sometimes, right? And both are necessary. Both are absolute. Both are equal, you can say. So when you dwell on this topic of Varna and Ashram, you have to look at it from a very clean perspective. And going back to my discussion with devotees at Sharanagati, it's a little bit like this. You don't really have to make a deliberate effort to create that structure. People are what they are. All you have to do is add Krishna to their life, to their vocation. That's all. You just have to love Krishna. I gave you the example of the guy who was a moose hunter in Northern Ontario, and we had such a good conversation together, and I felt like I could get along with him more than I could get along with some of my peers, Like some of my peers are fanatics. I said, oh my God, give me a break. But I could talk with this guy, and I'm sure if I was given a little time, I could tell him about the glories of Krishna and see that Krishna is his hero, And then I would consider he's part of the Varnashram system. That's all. That is the qualification. As far as these other details go, I would say much of these are Brahminical qualities. And Brahmins are meant to teach others in the other facets of life. Brahmins are gurus. Brahmins are teachers of the Absolute. Brahmins teach Brahman. Brahman means spirit, as opposed to, matter. So Prabhupada takes a stab here at secular society. It's not helping people. It's not helping the world. What we need to believe. We need to believe in some higher power. And that makes all the difference. In other words, we need to become humble. That's taking humble position really helps you to gain ground, achieve many things. So I like these kind of verses. I really do. And it's these are reminders, right? These are the kind of qualities you should put on your refrigerator when you guys get one. And just this is I have a checklist. There's also 26 qualities that are listed that are similar. It's only short of 4 that are mentioned here. Does anybody know where to find that one? 26 qualities in the Bhagavad Gita. That stunned everybody. Keep going. Keep going. You're getting cooler.
26 qualities of devotee.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 9. Peaceful.
16.
16. Chapter 16. Chapter 16 gives the divisions of divine and demonic. It's a chapter that's very black and white, if you want to use that term. I'm sure that term black and white is going to be ruled out and be politically incorrect someday. Anyways. So the good thing about the list of these 26 qualities is that what Krishna says to Arjuna, don't worry because you possess divine qualities. You're in that group of the 26. Now, when it comes to the particular traits of someone that's got demonic elements, how many are listed there? Does anybody know? You can actually, I don't consider it cheating if you go to Bhagavad Gita and find out. Chapter 16. It's easy to find. It's right in the beginning, quite early in the stage. Okay, 1 to 3. That covers the 26 qualities. Okay, for what is divine. Now the next that's going to be addressed. The rest.
The rest of the chapter.
Yeah. Well, yes, but here, this is what we get from the demonic qualities. Okay, let's go over it. 1, 2, 3. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. Well, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Go ahead, go for it then. Let's read it all. Demonic qualities are demonic nature. So you've got 5. That's quite hopeful for us, isn't it? To realize that 5 versus 26. So we're talking about when you've got these kind of qualities of divinity, it just means you're very refined. Now, if we want to split hairs, we can actually go to those 5 particular traits of demonism, and the first 2 are kind of similar, and we might want to split hairs. Can we go back to number 4 again? Verse 4.
What could we say if we take those 26 or those 30, we could just, for each one, the opposite would be a demonic quality.
Yeah, that's right. You can like analyze it like that. I think Saswat Maharaj put out a book on 26 qualities, something worth looking at. Okay, pride, arrogance, conceit. When I see these, they're quite similar, isn't it? Yeah. But if you want to split hairs, you can do that, okay? And anger, obviously, anger is not a good trait to have. People shouldn't get angry. I was reminded by B.B. Govinda Swami when he came in June. He says, Maharaj, and he's got this humor about him. He's so fun-loving. He says, when we were on Gerrard Street, we never fought with each other. I said, you're right. We never had arguments. We didn't squabble. It just didn't happen. And that was a big draw for us. I'd say to a large extent, our group here too is like that. I don't see anger much. If there is anger that happens in the ashram, well, I'm not going to go to the ladies' ashram. Let me know. Let me know about it. I just want to know. I'd like to see it. I'd like to be entertained. Maybe I can go in there and split, break up the battle. I have a nephew, and his job in a high school is to break up fights. That's his job.
To break.
Break up fights and arguments. Fight, like fight,
Okay.
okay? Whether it's physical or people yelling and screaming. I thought that, after the counterculture, everyone's going to be peaceful.
What's his job title?
I'm not sure
These
what,
fights are so common, they have a job.
I just don't know what they call it, but that's his main function. He's there on guard, like security. And he comes in, he's young, he's like one of them, he's dressed like one of them, so he comes, hey, cool, just cool it out, chill, and that's what he does, just to avoid blood and guts and all those other things that go along with fighting. So anger is definitely one of those things. Harshness, being harsh towards each other or towards people, and then being just downright ignorant, and you can certainly split hairs on that one. Ignorance, motive ignorance, right? There's a lot of detail given there. Did you point to somebody who's in ignorance?
No, she has all these qualities.
Oh, she's got all these qualities? Okay. Well, that's pretty. We just identified the truth. The true colors are coming out. Yeah, so Prabhu's, I think it's very healthy to go through these kind of verses because, it's nice to go over Leela. We're talking about God as a child, and there's a story of the rope and the angry mother, and then there's the chase, and then there's the trees that fall down, and there's butter involved, and there's yogurt involved, and all those happy pastimes. That's good. But, because we are part of a faith group, we also have to look at these particular qualities and amplify and exemplify them. Yeah, that's very important. Prabhu, could you move your head so I can see the clock? Oh my God! I can't believe it. Oh, that's because of the purport and the verses. It went so long. Okay, we usually finish around 8:30. With this. So usually the program is structured so we go till like 8:15 to talk, and then we leave 15 minutes for reflections, and then we stop mentioning that because you'll be on the hot seat.
Do we have time? Do we have time for some?
Yeah, I think we should, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I think what's interesting, Maharaj, is in this series or the list of qualities in the Bhagavatam we were going through. These are for all of the varnas.
Yeah.
Right? These are for all human beings, including Shudras. As you said, they're Brahminical qualities because Varnashram is Brahminical culture.
Mm-hmm.
So by culture, everyone is expected to follow these behaviors, develop these qualities. It's just in the occupation or vocation, like you said, where what we do for maintenance is different. Like for Brahmanas, their occupation is no different from the ashram duties. They do basically the ashram activities
Protocol.
for maintenance. And the other three, they do something else. So, as you said, when it comes to Varnashram, people have, one of the problems that come up is nobody wants to be the Shudra. Nobody wants to be on the bottom of the pile because we're used to a culture of exploitation. And hierarchy usually means exploitation in the material world, but in Varnashram it's a hierarchy of protection, where the lower is protected by the higher. So when we look at Shudras, actually they're expected to have all of these qualities, and that puts them far above the common person we see today, right? Like now, you said, like everyone of course has their nature, and you can see it through observation, but Srila Prabhupada said the problem is it's not scientifically organized.
No.
So we look down on the position of Shudra, but actually they're very exalted compared to the common men.
Yeah, well said. Well said. People should be, let's say, demonstrating these particular qualities. But if it doesn't come from the Brahmas, it's just not going to happen practically. People have to be set up in such a way that they'll teach this, train, coach, like that. So, and that's why the Krishna consciousness movement was started. It was started to create a class of ideal men and women so that other people can be inspired. Yes, Very good. Thank you. Good. Yes.
I really liked how you reminded us about the demoniac and divine qualities, given that it's a Diwali week. So it's something to meditate upon and, maybe practice. Like Lord Ram is actually the one who is leading by example with all these qualities like kind to everyone, does not quarrel, absolute truth. So it's a good reminder to just take a look, meditate upon these qualities and practice as much as we can.
Thank you. There's also a reminder about Yudhishthira. He's in the narrative here, right? And he didn't have any enemies. People loved him. He didn't have any flaws in his character. So that's why Krishna chose him to be the leader. Krishna gave his vote at voting time. Of course, there's no such system in the Vedic era, but yeah, Yudhishthira had those particular qualities, and he's here to hear about them also. He also heard from Bhishma, when Bhishma was passing away. Raja Dharma, how to be a good leader, all those kind of qualities came out. So a good leader has to have good lessons, And also I like something that Peter Burwash used to say, when you read, you lead. To be a good leader, you have to be a reader. Just read the right books. All right. Something else? Yes.
Maharaj, people of each varna, they have to follow the same kind of lifestyle, like in the beginning brahmacharis and then grihastha and then vanprastha.
Usually Brahmas and Kshatriyas had a system for more intensive teaching and training.
Not for Shudras?
Not Vaishyas and Shudras. It wasn't so common, no. No. They would just, their education might be minimal, and they just get right into working, and that's what they want to do, that's what they wish to do, for some people, it's just hard for them to sit down in a classroom, to be quiet.
So what would be the way for them to get delivered, since their consciousness could be...
Well, everyone's led by the Brahmins. They're inspired by the Brahminical people, by the yagyas that go on, with the pujas that go on. And it just kind of filters down. The Brahmins are teaching, and it goes down to the common person. It's a good system, really. But when it gets contaminated, like like the Vatican, there's other examples where things got really bad, nasty, oppressive. Yeah, and so the Western world has a history of it just as much as the Eastern world has, an experience of, contaminated structure, pure structure. Yeah.
Maharaj, Prabhu's answer reminded me of something that I heard, that each of the four varnas are like make up a human body. Like the Shudras are like the legs, and the other varnas represent different parts. And if any one of the body part is missing, then everything will kind of get messed up. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. If you don't have a stomach, boy. You can probably manage without legs, but then, you'll have some support system. Everybody just has to be, like plugged in and contributing somehow, but really what's really important is the head has to be screwed on. Because once the head's screwed on, then there's hope for the rest of the body. Once the head's in place, oh, there's my arm. I'll pick it up. Stomach's over there. And the legs. So it's a very nice analogy. Yeah, the social structures compared to the social body. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Actually,
Mr. Clock.
being in Shudra is very peaceful also. In previous temple where I used to live, so there me and one Prabhu was, so our duty was to clean the temple. Before coming in the devotees went, yes, used to be in the temple. So we didn't have any competition. Like nobody came to like, I will do it, like in singing, a lot of people do it, a lot of people are jealous of each other. being Shudra is very peaceful. You do
Yeah.
stuff and you are good friends of everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel that too. I love to just even clean the toilet bowls. You know, I mean, it can be a lot. It's a lot of fun. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, he did the Gundicha Manjaram, you know, the cleaning of the temple in Puri, and he had a competition with the devotees. It was just like a fun thing, not cutthroat competition. It was like fun, and he gathered more than everybody else put together, and he was happy doing it. You know, he'd take his own cloth, clean the temple, because for him, Jagannath's coming. Jagannath is coming, so let me get this place spick and span. Okay, last.
It was connected to what Prabhu's question. You know, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, by performing your duties, by doing your dharma, that's how you get purified, you get liberated.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not by doing someone else's. And when Arjuna tried to escape his dharma, then he said, you incur sin. So, when it comes to all of the varnas, by performing their dharma, they get liberated, right? And then, of course, you said they get guidance from the Brahmins how to do that in proper consciousness. But by doing their duties, then they're liberated.
So today, now, everyone's got duties to perform, right? And regardless of whether it's cleaning or, you know. But just on the last point, I retired from GBC responsibilities, although I'm working harder than before. And I'm what they call emeritus. I've got that status. That means I'm an advisor. I can come in. And, now going to meetings is just such a relief. It's so liberating, And I just feel like a new person. So why I'm saying this is that those devotees who have to deal with the hard task of problem solving have a real difficult job. And it's not easy. And you're never going to satisfy all of the people all of the time. And that's what I remember about Prabhupada and why it's hard to be a leader, yet it has to be done. Anybody who's going to have children, you're a leader automatically. So here's what I saw, and I'll finish with this. I was on the morning walk with Prabhupada and other devotees at Lake Michigan in Chicago. And we came to the end of a walk. And Prabhupada had a chutter on, the gray chutter. And Vishaka was there. She was the photographer. And Ramananda was there, Swami at the time. And there were a few devotees. So, okay, Prabhupada, we'll take a picture of you, like a classic shot. There's like a wall of stones in the back. It was kind of organic, rustic looking. And so one devotee came and sort of helped Prabhupada with the folds, on the cloth. And other devotee goes, Prabhupada could just like this. Vishaka also came in, tried to, get the sun hitting his face. Those kind of things. It kind of went on and on and on. And Prabhupada said, I'm staying like this. You cannot satisfy all of the people all of the time. He just took a pose and that's it, whether you like it or not, because it went on so long. So keep that in mind when it comes to decision making as leaders or not. Some of you are taking up that kind of responsibility. You're not always going to make everybody happy, but yet a decision has to be made.
Maharaj, I was just thinking about this to ask, how can we please everyone? And you're just answering them.
Yeah, you can.
I just thought of this question.
But what really decisions are made based on what's for the greater good, right? So you got a situation where somebody's a nonsense, they've done a major crime. Do you try to protect that person or do you eliminate him to save the rest of the crowd? Chanakya Pandit talks about that too. Yeah, so you can't satisfy everybody. You can't satisfy your own body when you take something. Oh, the cake, the birthday cake yesterday was so good. But then, there's too much sugar in me now. Oh, I suffer later on. So part of me likes it, but, You know, the tongue might like it, the palate may like it, but other parts don't like it. So you'll never satisfy everyone. It's never a perfect scenario. So even the title we should question, perfect society, okay. But what you're trying to do is put imperfect people into a perfect society. It's like, you know, you can build living quarters for the homeless, or you're supposed to say unhoused people. And some of those people, you give them the space, they're going to abuse it. You know, at least some of the people will. They will abuse even when you got a nice setup for them. Kali Yuga is a heavy time. So I want to thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna. Tomorrow we are going to do a fire ceremony in place of the class, I hope. Yeah. 7, okay. So you can't satisfy all the people all of the time. And we have a second initiation with yourself. And
Who's second initiation? Yours?
yeah, that's right. And Mangalananda has a keen interest in learning how to do the sanskars and how to do the different havans for the different, you know, sacraments. And that, we feel, is going to be a great draw. A lot of people will be just wanting our devotees who can offer these services, you know, such as birth, death, old age, just all hatch, match, and dispatch. Those three. All of those. Okay, so instead of